Hi everybody, this is Noelle from Petitti Garden Centers, and we're at Casa Verde, and we are at the prime time to catch all the poinsettias before they get shipped out to the store. So if you look behind me, there's a lot. There's about 4 acres here, and they are looking absolutely gorgeous. So we wanted to talk to you today about poinsettia care because we haven't made this video yet, which is super surprising, and we wanted to make sure that you are successful with your holiday poinsettias during the holidays, but also afterwards. So to start out with, we always talk about lighting. Poinsettias themselves indoors really prefer a bright indirect light. You don't have to place them right up against bright sunny windows. They can actually be pulled like 5 to 6 feet away from an eastern, western, or southern exposure. If you have northern exposure, that's great because you're getting bright indirect light with no sun, virtually no sun, and the poinsettias can be very close to that northern window and really enjoy that aspect. The other thing that we want to talk about poinsettias for indoors, again, is your household temperatures. Average household temperatures for poinsettias are great, anywhere from about 60 to 70 degrees. When we get below that, especially when you're taking them from, let's say, the garden center to the home, make sure when it's below 50 degrees out, you want to make sure that they get wrapped, and it's really good to kind of have a warm vehicle that you're taking them home in, and you're going straight home, not stopping in other places before you do get them home, because they really do not like 50 degrees and below. I should just say below 50, they start to get really temperamental and can start losing leaves. With that, humidity around the poinsettias, no problem whatsoever. Drier homes, yes, I would recommend placing them on a humidity tray of pebbles and water. That's always really, really good. You can spray mist them as well, but as large as these poinsettias are, that might take some time to do that. So humidity trays are always really good. Watering wise is always a big, big question for us. So when you're watering any houseplant, we recommend thoroughly watering the soil, making sure that the water drains out of the drainage holes, waiting until that stops, and then actually repeating. So if you can repeat moistening that soil, thoroughly moisten it, and then letting the water drip out of the drain holes, and then placing it back into its spot. That's really the best way to do that. You can water poinsettias from the bottom. So if you have a drip tray underneath, you can actually fill that drip tray and they will absorb water from the bottom. That's what we do here at the greenhouse. So you can water them from the bottom, but the key is we normally put those really pretty foil pot covers over them. So you've got to make sure that when you are watering, you want to make sure to remove that foil pot cover. Go ahead and water it from the top, let it drip, water from the bottom, let it absorb, and then you can go ahead and put your foil pot cover back on. Make sure they are not standing in water. Lots of times we'll water the poinsettias, let them sit in that pot cover without any drainage, and the next thing you know, the root system rots. So do be aware of that. And if you want to, you can poke holes in the bottom of the pot cover and place them on a drip tray, and then go ahead and water and make sure, you know, again, that they're getting drainage. They absolutely need drainage. This time of year with our houseplants, we really do not fertilize. So you know when these bracts are in color and the small budded flowers are getting ready to open on top of the poinsettias, they do not need to be fed at all. That would be actually next growing season. So if you choose to keep your poinsettia in the house, you would actually start fertilizing it right around the end of March, beginning of April, like most of our houseplants as they come out of dormancy. So do remember that. You don't need to fertilize at this time of year. Other things that we want to make sure, never put your houseplants, poinsettias included, around hot or cold areas where you're getting hot or cold drafts. So keep them away from like furnace vents, doorways that you're coming in and out of the house, those types of areas, and really, really cold drafty windows. You don't want to place them there. The other thing that I should mention is when you're bringing them home, make sure that you unwrap them pretty quickly. The reason being is if you leave the plastic wrap on top of the poinsettias, they start to build up ethylene gas, and that gas actually starts to make the plants age. So you will see leaf curl, leaf drop pretty quickly if you do leave the wraps on. So try not to leave the wrapping on too long. Other than that, after the holidays are over, basically you'll have some poinsettias that'll keep very, very colorful into March, into springtime, and that's fine. Maintain them as a houseplant as long as you would like. What we normally do is right around, I would say, beginning of springtime, as the day length is getting longer and you can tell that your plants are starting to perk up, is we'll actually cut them back. We'll cut them back to about, I'd say about 4 to 6 inches. You're leaving just a couple of leaf bracts on the stems of the poinsettia. You're going to maintain it, watering and so forth, fertilizing at that time. You can fertilize with an Osmocote or Miracle Grow product, not a problem. Either one works very well. And then you would go ahead and maintain them inside until about mid to late May, where you can then place them outside and maintain them like you would a flowering annual. Outdoors, they really appreciate a partial shade condition, so about 4 to 6 hours of direct sunlight. They do very well with, again, average watering, keeping them evenly moist to slightly dry. And then you'll just maintain them throughout the growing season, no problem, continue to fertilize. And then right around when we start to see temperatures drop in the fall, and again, we want to keep them above the 50-degree mark. So if your evening temperatures are starting to drop, then you need to keep your eye on that. So poinsettias should come back inside the house right around the end of September, beginning of October, again, when the temperatures start to fall below that 50-degree mark. At that time, and this is the most crucial for lighting, because in the fall, as the day length is shortening, that's going to trigger these poinsettias to go back into color. So what you want to do is you actually want them to get natural light indoors from 8 o'clock in the morning until about 5 o'clock in the evening. And at that time, at 5 o'clock, and this is again right at the beginning of October, you want to start doing this, you will either place this plant in a dark closet, pantry, even take a cardboard box and put it over the top of the poinsettia to keep out all of the light. This lighting from 8 to 5 and then complete darkness from 5 in the evening all the way to 8 o'clock in the morning is really going to help those bracts color up. And you have to stick to the schedule. Every time you accidentally light it, or uncover it when it's not supposed to be uncovered, that can actually, make that color not turn as quickly or as well as it could. So again, beginning of October, that's when you want to start doing the light treatments on the poinsettias, and you'll really get good reaction when you keep them lit from 8 to 5 and then cover them in complete darkness from 5 beyond until the next morning, okay? Other than that, I really think it's really beneficial, again, for all your houseplants to keep them on the slightly drier side of watering. You can pick up a poinsettia and tell when it's getting very dry. You might see the leaves curl a bit. You might see the leaves droop a bit. That's going to be your great indicator that it does need water. You can, of course, stick your finger in the top inch of the soil. If the top inch of the soil is dry, absolutely start watering. One other little tip that we do is we will water the poinsettia with ice cubes, okay? That's fine. You can absolutely water poinsettias with ice cubes. It's usually 1 ice cube per inch of diameter of pot. So if you have a 6-inch poinsettia, then you can obviously do 6 ice cubes. Again, everybody's ice cube is a little bit different, but right around that much water. You would go ahead and apply that, and then you would check within about, I'd say a week or so. It always depends on the house temperature and how dry it is and levels of humidity. But again, go back and check about 5 to 7 days later, see how the poinsettia feels, pick up the pot. If it's feeling light, touch the top of the soil, make sure that you have adequate moisture in that soil. Other than that, I'm going to talk about these varieties here, and I know we've spent a lot of time with poinsettia here, but they're so beautiful. They're just a gorgeous plant for the holiday season. I'm going to start over here, and right in the front, we have one called Viking Cinnamon. It's kind of like what we used to call pink peppermint. It's a very light pink with a little bit of darker cinnamon red speckles. You have to look really, really close to it, but beautiful large bracts on this plant. I have heritage pink over here, beautiful deep medium pink with actually the bracts are coming out like coral pink and a little bit darker. So that's a gorgeous, gorgeous poinsettia as well. I have premium ice crystals right in front of me. This one has sort of like a deep pink, sort of coral, a little bit of a coral color as well. But then right down the middle of the bract, it has kind of a beautiful creamy white margin. I have the glitter varieties, and you might know them as Jingle Bells. That's what we used to call them. That's that classic variety. But the glitter varieties have the red and the white speckles, a lot of green. In front is a new one. These bracts are very narrow, but very profuse, very pretty. This is J'adore Hot Pink. It really is a very cool poinsettia, has a beautiful coloring to it, and also very fine white margins on the ends of the bracts. I have Marblestar here. This is one of my favorites. Beautiful, beautiful kind of salmon pink with a beautiful cream margin on them. Can you tell I like poinsettias? They're beautiful. They're all beautiful. This one in front of me is Picasso, and Picasso, Premium Picasso, is just a kind of a splattering of different colors of pinks and creams. It really is quite unique out there. And then of course this one, this is your Christmas rose, what they call a Christmas rose. It's where the bracts are sort of curled, and this one's called Harlequin, beautiful red color. We have Ice Punch, which has kind of a cut leaf bract and a darker sort of cherry red, and then sort of a light pink in the center, really, really pretty. For those of you that like the dark burgundy colors, we do have Cortez Burgundy down below here. Again, this one's still developing a lot of color, but as we get more mature, you'll see more of that burgundy color in the bracts. And then of course, I love the combos, the beautiful classic red and classic white, just gorgeous together. And as you can tell behind me, there's a lot of red poinsettias here. So always everybody's favorite, but so much to enjoy. Really just remember bright indirect light, average moisture to slightly dry. And then after that, keep up the humidity. Make sure you pull off the covering when you get home. Make sure you keep them warm in transport. And then of course, average household temperatures at home, and you'll be ready to go. All this information is available online at PetittiGardenCenter.com. We have our poinsettia care guides, and they're all available for you for future reference. Enjoy.